Unfortunately, we lost perhaps the greatest living player this week. We'll talk about that and more coming up on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are brought to you by DraftKings Pick 6. Use promo code RWPicks for $50 in Pick 6 credits with a $5 deposit. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire.com here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. Todd, kind of a bittersweet week. We got Garrett Cole back. We had the Rickwood Field game yesterday, but losing the legend that is Willie Mays, 24-time All-Star. It's just an unreal career he had, and broke down social barriers and all he had to deal with outside of the game. Tough loss for the game of baseball.
Yeah, I think legacy, no doubt about it. It was such a shame, too. Tuesday, we got the report that he was unable to make the game, right? He wasn't able to travel and make it live, but he's looking forward to watching it from his house, from his home. And later that day, we got the sad news. So it was a wonderful both celebration and remembrance, I think. They did really, MLB, Fox did a really nice job with everything. But yeah, it was too bad. It was I was really looking forward to the game, the history, hearing all about it, and that part of it came through. But the swerve with the Willie Mays news, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really sad timing, and rest in peace to the Say Hey kid. And just unfortunate, I'm Barry Bonds is kind of a polarizing guy, but Willie Mays' godson. I was glad to see that he was able to get out to Rickwood. Did you see much of the game?
I watched it. Yeah, I didn't catch the early coverage. I saw some highlights of the early coverage, but I did catch the game. Anything, you know what? Let's keep it upbeat. John Smoltz was very good yesterday. And so, you know what? When Harold Reynolds isn't on commentary, I think he does a great job interviewing. There was a lot of stuff on MLB Network leading up to this game. Roy Wood Jr., comedian, a lot of segments, and they were really great.
I saw him doing the sorry to cut you off. I saw him doing the Stephen A. Smith walk on the field. Really cracked me up.
Yeah, no. So I thought, I thought Joe Davis did a really great job of integrating the play-by-play with the stories and not becoming part of the story himself, right? Staying in the background. And it was completely enjoyable. And the game lived up to, the hype, if you will. It was a fun game. Alabama native Brendan Donovan going deep. The park looked great. I love the shots of the old wall and the railroad tracks and some of the legend about where the ball was hit. It was a fun night. I mean, for a couple hours, I was just a baseball fan. Then I got back into baseball mode, clicked over to the San Diego game, and went back to writing up the slate for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good to, and I've been able to do this year with my trip to the Hall of Fame. I have my baseball Hall of Fame hat on. It's good to occasionally stop and just appreciate the history of the game and the legends of the game. And so, yeah, I thought, even though it was unfortunate how it kind of lined up, I thought it was, great. How it lined up with the passing of Willie Mays, that it was a great showcase for the game. Well, Todd, let's get into the fantasy baseball here. We'll talk about some pickups you could potentially add to your team. These are from the RotoWire Stake League, which has Fab run overnight Thursday, Friday. So the number one pickup was Ryne Stanek. And, Andres Munoz got a 5-out save on Tuesday. Looks like the head of the committee there, but that's the thing is occasionally he's used earlier in games in the highest leverage spot, and Stanek, the door's been open for him to grab some saves, vulture some saves for Seattle.
I talked about this with Eric Halterman. He was a little, I don't use the word taken aback, but he was less enthusiastic about the move. But we're at the point of the year you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
In an 18-team league, I mean, if we're listing 1A, closers that like 1A, Stanek's at or near the top of that list. Now, the catch is his ratios aren't great. It doesn't strike out a ton of batters. So it only works if you need saves. But if you need saves, I mean, who else? I mean, Jason Adams not getting. I'm talking about the 1As. We know who the ones are.
Yeah.
Stratton from Kansas City, maybe. So
Chad Greene was another guy picked up. I had on the list at $1. Who?
Well, he's the fill-in right now.
Yeah, fill-in, but Garcia's hurt and.
Right. So I think so I'm not right now in what you have for your fab left, you do what you need to do. To me, if we were talking early in the year, the safe closers, we may not have had Munoz safe for injury, but I think you would have said when he's healthy, he's getting all the saves. Well, that's not the case.
Yeah, it kind of got a larger share of the saves, the team saves last year than I sort of expected, but it's kind of reverted back to him, pitching the highest leverage spot, regardless of when that is. So, DJ Hers picked up, or David John Hers, as he might be listed on your commish site. He is on CBS. So DJ Hers, 13 strikeout game, kind of out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, and I'm a little reluctant to buy in. But do you have any strong feelings about DJ Hers, the lefty?
I'm coming around to, if he struck out 13 last game, there's potential. We know everybody else in the wire is not good, so I'm now open to what if. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't play score sheet, right?
I did a few times, but I haven't lately.
So I'm a
fun game though, really fun.
I've got the second best record in my score sheet league. Woo! And I needed pitching, so I was up, and I could even take. And for those that aren't aware, you pretty much sim to how the player's doing ERA wise at the time. Even if he's pitching better skills, that's just the way the game's set up. So I had a choice between David Peterson and Hertz, and I went with Peterson.
I think I would too by hair, yeah.
Yeah, in a score sheet where on a week-to-week basis, if I need another starter, that would be my choice. I just in Citi Field, the Mets. So that's kind of where I am. Is I'd rather have David Peterson than Hertz. But if you say you've got one bench spot for a stash, give me Hertz.
Yeah, what's that term you use and others in the industry have used? Signature significance. I mean,
that's lists. Yeah, that's lists.
Oh, okay. Well, who's to say? But 13 strikeouts, you don't see that from every young arm.
Right.
So there may be something there, is what I'm saying. You could see a flash, and sometimes in today's game, you just got to churn those roster spots and chase that flash. Justin Turner has looked his age. He's looked close to 40 this year. He goes for $4. He was out there, 18-team league. I could see it, but I'm actually a little bit more interested in the guy who went just behind Turner in this league at $3. Addison Barger, not off to a great start with Toronto, but was playing well at AAA Buffalo, which is not the PCL, it's the International League. It's
not
quite as easy to hit there. At 846 OPS, 380 on base, 8 homers in 50 games. Don't know how often he's going to work in, but I don't know. If you need something, I could see this team. This team's kind of looking for a spark, the Blue Jays, and I could see them giving Barger more playing time than a lot of people assume.
And isn't he a little Ben Zobrist-like in that he can play everywhere or most everywhere? I think.
Yeah, he can play definitely all around the infield, the corner outfield as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's another player that I've seen the list. Austin Martin, I think, was picked up. He kind of fits the same mold. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of 50-50. I think Martin's more of a fill-in right now, but he's playing a lot right now. And Barger could carve some playing time out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think we'll see. They got Spencer Horwitz as well, who's picked up, I think, last week in this league. And Vladdy's chopped off the lettuce. He's got the big haircut. So they're just trying to find something. It feels like, as a team. George Springer is also, age has caught up to him in a hurry. I picked up DL Hall for 2. I had Hurston Waldrop as my top pickup last week, and he's hurt and struggled. So I thought I'd add Hall here, who he's hurt. We don't know exactly what his role is going to be upon his return to the Brewers, but he has been rehabbing through multiple innings on June 16th, and only 1 1/3 yesterday down with Nashville. But there was upside there before he got hurt. This team just always seems to manufacture the pitching and get the most out of their guys. So I thought might as well add Hall to my bench and see what happens.
I think the fact you replaced Waldrop kind of tells you that's what we were talking about earlier. That's kind of a roster spot you're looking to churn until you land on something
and get some upside out of it. Yeah,
why not? Hall's got it. Preemptive move maybe in Milwaukee. Not the greatest place to pitch, but like you're saying, they have some kind of secret sauce there, especially with relievers. That makes it interesting.
You think for sure he's full-time relief?
I don't know, but the point, I'm warming to the organization being tuned in with pitching, if you will.
Yeah, and maybe if he's not in relief, maybe it's a bulk role or something like that. Or if he's not starting, maybe it's like a bulk role, and we'll see. He not a big sample, but he showed some promise last year with Baltimore, and big part of that Corbin Burns deal. They've already found a nice piece in Joey Ortiz, but they're going to certainly be motivated to turn Hall into something. Landon Knack picked up for 2. He's going to be stepping in for the Dodgers tonight. So he's going to start against the Angels, which is a pretty nice landing spot for Knack.
Right. He's technically filling in for Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Then Buehler's out, but the Dodgers are like 3 off days and through the end of the month. So you could potentially go with 4. Maybe Knack sticks around just so you don't have to push Tyler Glasnow, etc. But Dodgers, aren't you just automatically? It's like Pavlovian interested in Dodgers pitching.
Yeah, they've their depth's getting tested here with losing Yamamoto, and I'm not saying the Buehler thing is a phantom IL's issue with the hip discomfort, but it seemed like Buehler, was really struggling there for a stretch. So I gave up, the 7 spot, and before that, it just really had been lacking dominance and just didn't look quite right. So give him some time, and they'll rely on guys like Knack in the meantime. All right, next up, Todd, we have Jonathan Cannon, who you mentioned last week. He goes for only 2, which, don't know how long of a runway he has to stick in that rotation, but that's pretty nice. And then Chad Greene, who I mentioned earlier. Again, we don't know his window, but man, with Romano out and Yimi Garcia now out, it does look like Greene is fairly well locked in as the next man up. Others to consider if available in your league: Tobias Myers, Tyler Soderstrom, David Hamilton. I mean, just running wild. He's long gone in a lot of competitive leagues, but he was these guys are the top pickups on CBS. Then Ben Rice, catcher eligible, which makes him somewhat interesting, and essentially replacing Anthony Rizzo for the Yankees.
At least against right-handed pitching. I mean, Rizzo, when he was healthy, would play both, against everybody. Yeah, hopefully Rice works out a little better than Henry Davis. It's the same idea. Catcher eligible, playing in the field. So it's if you're struggling for your second catcher, it's absolutely worth a shot. In 18-team leagues like this, 1 catcher, why not?
We had a question in the chat about Yariel Rodriguez, wondering if he could take over as the Toronto closer. I wouldn't say that's crazy, but I think that Greene would really have to struggle there, because they mentioned that Yariel Rodriguez is on an innings limit, but we'll see.
He's had
not a bad arm to stash if you're in a deep league.
Yeah, and Rodriguez was a reliever for the past couple of years, which is one reason why he's on a limit. I don't know. I think Greene's got some experience. I don't think Toronto is yet, in experimental mode. I do think it's definitely worth thinking about. I think Toronto. The other thing I think Toronto, even though he's on a restriction, I do think they want to build up a certain number of innings so that next year, as a starter, they may not be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's more of it. As far as tonight goes, I don't know that Rodriguez will gather enough innings to get the win, potential for a win. It still sounds like Bowden Francis will be part of the parade of pitchers tonight. So,
well, any other players you're eyeing up to potentially add in fantasy this week?
I haven't, not just yet. It's kind of in a little bit of a lull right now. I have not checked into what's going on for next week. I will, we'll do more of that, but
well, it's midweek, so you can be
forgiven. Yeah. I often have a couple of names, but not this week for whatever reason. Nothing's really struck out at me or jumped out at me.
Brandon Marsh is back, and it seems like Eugenio Suarez is kind of getting phased out in Arizona, so giving more opportunities to Blaze Alexander at third. Maybe
because Perdomo's back. Yeah, no, that's an interesting call. I the end of the Rockies homestand is nearing, but with all the injuries, Michael Toglia has been interesting this week. But I'm not going to say go pick him up next week.
Eddie in the chat was mentioning Carson Spires, who we had on our 2-start list last week, and he's going to be starting again Sunday. Did not have a great first outing this week, and it makes me a little nervous with his second start coming up against Boston. But I do think he's an arm because he does provide some length and has shown flashes. He's another guy I could see maybe picking up this week because he looks like next week he would be at St. Louis.
Yeah.
Then he'd be at the Yankees, which is tough. But
the innings
home against the Rockies.
The innings are the thing, and he doesn't walk batters. And that's kind of my crusade now is it used to be all about strikeouts, and I'd still prefer strikeouts. But in today's game, with the ball not flying and still not flying with the weather warming up, if you're not walking batters, it's even more of an advantage because you need to score runs, you need rallies. If you're not walking, if you're not giving additional traffic, you're making it more difficult for the other team to score. So the Seth Lugos, who at this point, people are still waiting for the other shoe to fall. Jake Irvin. There's a number of pitchers who I am more confident will not crash than I would have been if the ball starts traveling. And walks are one of the keys. It's not just fly balls. It's if you're not walking people, because there are fewer runs being scored off of homers right now. So it's at a bit of a low. You're not scoring off a homer. You need to keep the line moving. You're not walking people. You're making the other team do all the work.
Yeah, just can't shoot yourself in the foot with the walks. And we're also seeing kind of the return of the sinker. A lot of pitchers adding that pitch back and making it a bigger part of their arsenal with the ball not traveling as much. And that's helping them keep the ball in the yard. But yeah, not compounding any of those issues with walks is a big deal. All right. Well, before we move on to 2-star pitchers, let's pause briefly to talk a little bit about our new sponsor and tell you a bit about Pick 6 over at DraftKings. Did you ever play the over-under game with your friends? Think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds, or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2-liter. If you have, then you're going to love Pick 6, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. 1 per new customer, non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Well, Todd, we are into the week of June 24th already, the final week of June, and then I'll be seeing you in July at the RotoWire company outing in Vegas. So, it seems like it's been a while since I've actually seen you in person, Todd.
I've only been to the company outing once. I'm looking forward to going back and tell you how long ago it was. I was with DVR and Vlad. That's how long ago it was. So it's been a few years. Looking forward to it. You were saying it's nice to just kind of get out there and watch, Cooperstown and that sort of thing. To me, it's kind of it's been a while since I haven't met a lot of the new crew. I think it's important to kind of, get to know who's typing me these Slack messages. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But anyway,
you're a big part of the team, so I'm glad you're going to be there for sure. And it should be a lot of fun. I guess I did see you in New York for Tout Wars, but we're both super busy that weekend. Yeah. So it's not like I
saw you at least 23 times when you pot a player. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I was otherwise just kind of tucked away in the corner running the board most of the weekend. But that's always a blast, man. Just being down in the Times Square for fantasy baseball, I have to pinch myself. Well, let's talk about the 2-star pitchers for next week. Again, the week of June 24th, 2024. And number 1 on the list, if you're following along, which you can with our projected starters grid, you can select customize grid, the blue button there, then custom start date, June 24th. Show starters. Brandon Pfaadt of Arizona is going to be versus Minnesota, then versus Oakland, tentatively. Pretty nice 2-step with Oakland coming to town, but he's been all over the place this season, and overall since his debut hasn't really lived up to the prospect hype. I still see potential there, but I think I'm only going to go 2 on Pfaadt.
Yeah, go take longer. I'm deciding between 2 and 3. Yeah, I mean, remember last year was terrible to begin, but he looked really good in September into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Hasn't come through. These matchups, I know Minnesota's good. Royce Lewis is just ridiculous.
Yeah, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I mean, he's stay healthy, man. Oh gosh. All right, I know it. It's like a 2.5. I'm going to round up to a 3.
You're going 3, okay?
I'm going to go 3.
I'm going to get you down as a 3 on the sheet, and of course we will review these.
You see the
grades.
First one's tough because now I have to grade everything against that. It's more than Anyway, it's good.
Yeah, we'll use the Pfaadt meter from here on out this week. Spencer Schwellenbach, he's going to be at St. Louis, then versus Pitt. Same 2-step for Ronaldo Lopez, who's been a revelation for Atlanta in that starting rotation. Schwellenbach at St. Louis versus Pitt. I kind of like the idea of trotting him out there. So Spencer Schwellenbach, I'm going to give, I think, a 3. I think I think a 3.
He showed me a little something in the last outing, right? I mean, you were concerned, and he said, "No, guys, I'm actually pretty good. Give me some time. I'm with you on a 3."
And then I'll turn Ronaldo Lopez over to you to start. Where are you at on him?
Is he? I mean, I think he's. I know we like to have people earn their 5, but I think he's earned it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little short of that, but a 4.
Yeah,
high.
I don't know if he's a 7-inning, stalwart, but I think. All right, you know what? I think the innings is an issue, or the length is an issue. I'm confident for 5, but maybe not 7. Is that I think you're right. A 4 is where he should be.
Yeah, as well as things have been going for him, and these matchups look pretty nice. I just kind of have this sinking feeling like one of these will probably be not so great. So we'll see. I mean, I hope the best, but I can't.
We're using them, right? I mean, if we're debating between 4 and 5, he's pretty good,
Picking nits a little bit there. Cade Povich, lefty for the Baltimore Orioles. He's going to be versus Cleveland, versus Texas tentatively. I love everything about this team. I don't know if I'd feel great about starting Povich. I would consider it though. I think I'll go 2. Where are you at on Povich?
Yeah. The fact he's still in the majors speaks towards, unfortunately, the Orioles' injury woes.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of young pitchers, it's maybe not first impressions. I don't love the 5 walks last time, but it was the Yankees, and he minimized damage. All right, I'm with you on it too.
Real quick, back to Ronaldo Lopez. Eddie in the chat was wondering, do you think because he was a reliever last season that maybe he starts to lose a little bit on his stuff as the season, as the grind adds up on that arm?
It's always a possibility. Remember, he was a starter before that. I mean, it's been a couple of years.
It's been a few years.
And he's a pretty active reliever. It was an 80 inning. So I think Atlanta, even with the injuries, will figure out a way to get their guys some rest. I don't think you want to keep pushing Chris Sale the way they're pushing him.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is if you can't find a 5th starter, that means you don't have a 6th starter either. So they don't have the luxury of spreading it out. And they with the bats now, I don't know that they have the luxury of just assuming they're in the playoffs. I mean, I know the NL's a little different. Phillies are kind of running away with things, but I think Lopez. Yeah, I'm concerned, but I trust the Braves to do something about it.
Well, back to 2-star pitchers for this week here. Tanner Houck has really been a tremendous story this season. 2.14 ERA. He's going to be versus Toronto, versus San Diego. Same 2-step for Brian Bayo. Versus Toronto, versus San Diego. Houck, I think he is a guy that I think I am willing to promote to a 5 here.
Yeah, no. I mean, a few weeks ago I said 6. I still say 6.
Yeah, I think I wasn't quite there a few weeks ago, but
no,
I'm there with the 5 now.
Part of it is Houck is benefiting from the low walks. He's not a Miles Michaelis lack of strikeouts, but he's not dominant either. So I think part of if people expecting some regression, the fact that he is not walking anybody is going to really help him. Bayo, maybe a baby step. He hasn't taken the step we kind of hoped.
Yeah,
it looked like he was going to, and then things have just kind of stagnated. I'm still a 3, but I'm still hoping to see a little bit more over the second. We're getting close to where we can say the second half.
That's true. Wow. Jeez. Yeah. Bayo, I jotted down a 3 too. So 3 as well. So I still think there's something maybe to come, a new level, but it's kind of stagnated a little bit.
Yeah. Consistency, finding a way. It reminds me of what Eduardo Rodriguez a few years ago, where Alex Cora is pushing, and Rodriguez finally got it. Let's see if Bayo can, whatever it takes, get over that hump, figure out, all right, this is how I get through them twice. How do we get through the order a third time? Do I need to change things up a bit? Maybe with the changeup, somewhat pun intended. But I'm not giving up. Not that anybody is. I still have high hopes for Bayo.
Well, it is June 21st today, and Justin Steele is still looking for his first win of the season.
Wow. Yeah.
If you'd said that on draft day to the Justin Steele manager, he would have been, very unhappy. I get that there was that IL stint in there.
And he hasn't pitched terribly either. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's just kind of fluky, but
yeah,
they also have, Kyle Hendricks stepping into that rotation now with Ben Brown hurt, and Steele. This may be the week to get that first win at San Francisco, at Milwaukee. Until we see him back at that level, he's not going to be a 5 for me, but he's still a guy that if I have him on my team, I can't sit him down for a 2-step. So I'm going to go 4, I think.
I am as well. I don't love the matchups, but they're not terrible. They're kind of both in the middle. I still trust. I still trust Steele. That sounds like a corporate union thing or whatever.
Yeah, Teamsters. I still trust Steele. Nick Lodolo versus Pitt at St. Louis. He's been outstanding this year. I was concerned because he had the recurrence of that tibia issue down the stretch last year. He came into camp still behind and needed some time at the start of the year, but he's shown no issues with that plant leg. So versus Pitt at St. Louis, I think Lodolo's graduated to a 5 for me.
I was going to say, has he crossed the barrier? I think he's done enough. to get into that 5 range. And the matchups are very good. They're not excellent, but they're very good.
And honestly, Hunter Greene's getting to that 5 threshold for me, getting close. Anyway, he struck out 9 his last time out. I had an 8 strikeout game. We were looking for this new level of consistency from him this season, and he seems to have found it with this command and control. So, I'm tempted to go 5 with these matchups. So, where do you land on Hunter Greene?
He's one of my favorite prop guys or DFS guys. Am I there in fantasy? I'm still going to go 4.
Yeah,
but I know where you're going. Yeah,
I came up just a little short of the 5, but he's close. And things have not gone perfectly for the Reds, or for any team this year. But having Greene and Lodolo at the top of that rotation,
if nothing else, with all the issues with the bats, if everybody comes back healthy, De La Cruz, gains consistency, I still think it's a positive year for the Reds where their pitching's headed, or what it's showing.
Yeah, it sounds like, we may not see Christian Encarnacion Strand again this year.
Well, he decided already. We had a note a week ago that he was deciding on. Make up your mind, dude. Anyway.
Yeah, I hope to see Matt McLain later this year, but I saw some people dunking on the Reds saying, remember when they said they had such a good offense that they couldn't get Joey Votto at bats? Well, all those position players haven't exactly panned out this season, but there have been a lot of injuries in that mix too. And Votto's been hurt. So, but it does sound like Votto's getting close, which is kind of cool.
Toronto. Why not? I mean,
that'd be kind of fun.
That'd be fun, sure.
Tanner Bybee for the Cleveland Guardians. Him and Logan Allen here lined up for 2 at Baltimore at KC, and KC's no longer a doormat, as we know. So,
right.
Good pitchers parks though. Bybee's been a little disappointing.
Kauffman's actually an offensive park. It reduces homers. It reduces homers.
Okay.
Although this year, I'll bet you it's playing more neutral just because of the fly balls that would land previously could be being caught now. So this year, I didn't even think of that. Now I just bummed myself out, ruined my weekend. Park factors, if the ball stays mushy, are just going to ridiculous. They're going to be completely different. But anyway,
don't let it ruin your weekend.
That's my problem, not yours. No, it won't ruin my weekend. I got some good stuff going on. Anyway, Bybee, it's just I don't want to say give up, but it's like, oh no, we're not getting the Tanner Bybee, and he struck out 23 batters in the last 2 games. Although one of them was Seattle, but even so. So I think I'm back of the Bybee. I mean, the back of the bandwagon. He's at back of the envelope math, 51 strikeouts in his last 35 2/3.
Wow, I didn't realize the K's were up that much.
Oh yeah. And I mean, all right, Seattle, Cincinnati, KC, who doesn't strike out, Washington doesn't strike out. So this is and only 1 walk in each of those outings. Yeah, I'm back on I'm going to go 4. But I wouldn't be surprised if he turns in 5 level performances.
All right. I'm going to go 3 just because that's what I put down initially. But yeah, I think you're probably closer on that because I had expectations for him coming in. I guess he's finally started to round into form after a slow
51
start.
Ks and 6 walks has my attention.
What about Logan Allen? Any strong feelings about him?
To a lesser degree, it was like I like Logan Allen a lot this year. He was on a lot of my draft champion. I say a lot. I think I got 3 draft champion teams, so by a lot that means 2. So it's 2 of them are a free team. The Arizona Fall League and a Roto Junkies House League. But Allen is, I was going to say picked it up lately, but he's not striking anybody out. He's not getting burned. I'm going to go 2. Because he's outpitched he's lasted 6, 5, and 6, but he's outpitched his peripherals. 2 of those being quality starts, but he's only fanned 3 and 2 in those games. He's walked more than he's walked more than he struck out in the past 4 games.
Well, the Colorado Rockies have 2 off days next week, so we're spared handing out a couple zeros and a couple donuts. I'll make up for those myself this weekend. Take those. Garrett Crochet and Chris Flexen They have to face the Dodgers, but then they get the Rockies at home, which is always a gift. Well, Crochet's a 5. He's after a bit of a stumble there. What was it, early May or something? He's just been lights out. So Garrett Crochet is going to be a 5.
Yep.
He's been outstanding. Maybe looking at a trade this summer. Chris Flexen, ERA over 5 and has to face the Dodgers. I think I'll maybe give him a 1 for that Rockies start, like in a points league 1, but tough to feel good about him in a roto league.
I guess if Mookie was in the lineup, I may push for a 0, but I think you might get lucky and maneuver your way through that Dodgers start. So I'll go with the 1 as well.
Well, we have another easy 5 for Detroit and Tariq Skubal. He's just, maybe the best pitcher in the American League. He's going to be versus Philly, then at the Angels. So kind of balance the matchups there. Casey Mize, a much tougher call. He's got the same 2-step versus Philly at the Angels. I'm going to turn this one over to you first, Casey Mize.
I don't love that Philly start, that's for sure. I'm debating between a 1 and a 2. I'm going to go 1. Mize does not get me the strikeouts to absorb a bad outing.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 1, 2. That's what you said, right? Yeah, I think that's so. And then Houston's got 2 off days, so no 2-star pitchers for them either. And next up would be Kansas City. Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, 2 surprise starters this year. Lugo's got 10 wins versus Miami versus Cleveland. Man, these look like close to dueling 5s here, but I think I'm going to go. I'm still not there on Lugo skills wise in terms of results so far this season. 5 totally, but projection skills wise, I'm going to go 4 on Lugo, 5 on Reagans.
I will too. Keeping in mind Cleveland, I think we talked about the Royals not being a pushover. Neither is Cleveland as far as offense goes, but I'm with you there. Again, I'm less concerned about Lugo because of the fly ball nature.
Well, we'll pause briefly. We'll get back to 2-star pitchers in a second here, but I want to bring you a word from our friends at Home Run Forecast. Can certain weather conditions lead to more home runs? The atmosphere can affect how far a baseball flies by 20%. Home Run Forecast measures the weather conditions at a ballpark to tell us if the atmosphere is good or bad for ball flight during a game. An index value that rates the air is created for each game and ballpark and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10. Home Run Forecast premium site offers index values by the hour for each game, 24-hour forecasts, wind direction and speed, and even whether the roof will be open at certain stadiums. Home Run Forecast is offering a special for the start of the baseball season. You can get access to the premium site for the entire season for only $28, a savings of nearly 30%. Go to homerunforecast.com/RotoWire now to sign up. We appreciate their sponsorship. Definitely check out Home Run Forecast. And back to our 2-star pitcher grades for next week. We'll go to the lowly Angels. Griffin Canning, Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson still, doing well in terms of limiting runs, but a losing record now. Even with a 2.48 ERA, kind of speaks to how rough that Angels team is. Versus Oakland versus Detroit, though, doesn't get much better than that. Griffin Canning would be a guy I'd have on some lists to potentially throw out there this week. So I think I'm going to go 2 on Canning, 3 on Tyler Anderson. I'm
with you. Absolutely. Now, I wonder what Home Run Forecast would said about Wrigley Field today.
Chad was mentioning that Shota Imanaga's getting blown up.
3 homers. I think up to 4 homers. No, 3. 3 homers at this point.
Wow.
JD, Brendan Nemo, Francisco Alvarez. People talking regression, figured them out. I mean, this happens. It happens to everybody. I don't, to me, regression has that strict statistical meaning that things out of your control return to the norm. Maybe there is some regression with the homers. I need to check the distance and the exit velocity. Yesterday, Luis Heel was not so much regression as he just pounded by a good lineup. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little regression coming on with home run per fly ball with Imanaga, but I'm still, I think we were over our skis with him early. I still think he'll be very good, but I think Eric Halterman asked me if his ERA would be over, starting in the twos by the end of today. And I said, nah, the Mets aren't going to do that much damage. I wish I was prescient and said, you know what? It will be, because I think it's going to be.
Well, JD Martinez has just been hot lately. He's rocketing lasers to the opposite field, seems like constantly. So he's come on. And the Mets in general, it's just maybe bad timing for Imanaga after that grimace winning streak was snapped yesterday. Now, then you have to face the Mets the next day. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the grimace winning streak. That was the thing, throwing out the first pitch. You know what, too, though? Part of it is because of the Citi Field. But the Mets are the highest scoring team on the road in the league.
I have to admit, I was cracking up at that meme where it's like the World Series champion Rangers, and it's like a kid crying, and then the right, it's like a bodybuilder with Grimace's face.
Yeah.
Photoshopped on it. Anyway, James Paxton and Bobby Miller. So the Dodgers lose Yamamoto, and they lose Buehler to the IL, but then they get Miller back, and they're slotting in Landon Knack, as we talked about earlier. Paxton and Bobby Miller at the White Sox at San Francisco. Pretty nice. Is Paxton a 5? I'm not quite there.
No, I'm not even going to pretend. No, he's not pitching very well. He's got a low ERA.
He's got a 7-1 record.
Yeah, his skills are terrible. I mean, I'm going to give him a little respect and go with a 2, but he's been pitching horribly. It's just one of those things. I'm going to go 2 and 4. My son, you want to go 5? It's your call. You're the boss.
You're only going 2 on Paxton.
Yes, he's been blessed with a lot of lady luck. And even though he pitched pretty well at Coors last time out, 8 strikeouts in 7 innings. Previous 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. He wasn't striking anybody out, and walking almost as many people. So
that's fair. You make good points.
Last year he had a 1.31 WHIP. This year's a 1.31 WHIP. His ERA is a run lower. So that's Boston versus New York. Maybe a 3, but I'm not. I will go 3. I will, out of respect, go 3.
Okay, I went 3 too, but I was just asking. And then Bobby Miller, what did you say on him?
I don't know that I did. I'm thinking 4, even though he hasn't proven it yet.
Yeah, I was at a 3, but mostly for those reasons. We haven't seen.
I'm going to go 3 because I don't know that I can count on the innings.
Yeah, a guy that I like, but we haven't seen it yet. We don't know what the innings are going to be like, so quickly after his return. So, yeah, I'm at a 3 on both of these guys, I think, and maybe boosted a little bit by the matchups. For the Miami Marlins, Roddery Munoz, 24-year-old. He's had some good starts, but then some disastrous ones as well. Coming off a 3-homer outing, had a 4-homer outing earlier this year. Not a guy I can trust, so I'm going to go 0.
Is he our first 0?
Let's see.
If he's not, he's close. It's not.
Yeah, he is.
I'm going to go 0 as well. I'm interested, but we talked about Kansas City is 30 strikeouts and 29 2/3 has me interested, but 11 homers and 14 walks. These aren't the matchups to take a chance on the strikeouts.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Freddy Peralta, he's kind of fallen a little short of expectations on the whole, but then his last time out, it was vintage Freddy Peralta, 6 innings, 3 hits, 6 scoreless innings, 3 hits, and 8 Ks, only 2 walks. So would like to see a little bit more consistency and a little better run production out of Freddy Peralta, but I still think I'm going to go 5 here. 2 home starts, one against the Rangers who are struggling, then against the Cubs who at least were in last place for a minute. I think I'm going to go 5 on Freddie.
This is going to sound kind of dumb. Peralta hasn't pitched himself out of the 5 for me.
That's a good way to put it. I think
he hasn't earned the 5, but he hasn't done enough to. It's like you don't lose your job because of injury. I don't know, not the same. But yeah, I'm going to go 5 as well.
And a lot of people expecting regular 5 type production from Joe Ryan this year. It's, it took him a little while to get going, but I still believe in Joe Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he had another quality start his last time out. Loading up his game log here. He had, really, he's had a couple 5 and 4 run outings, but really over the last 6 weeks, he's been pretty close to being Joe Ryan. So at Arizona, at Seattle, I'm going to go 5 on Joe Ryan.
I'm going to go 5. He's not missing as many bats as I like. He's not walking batters. And I think he's due some home run regression, the good kind. He's giving up more homers than I think he should be. So I do like Ryan. It's kind of weird saying I expect a 3.13 ERA. I expect him to pitch better, but I think he's been a bit lucky with the 3.13. So this is a case where regression will be countered by better skills.
Well, the Mets have 2 off days next week, so no 2-star pitchers for them. Last week, or maybe the week before, we talked about Christian Scott and how he was a hold for us in leagues, but I could see where, as time goes on, you lose more and more people. More fantasy managers are going to be facing that decision and may have to cut Christian Scott. But there's just, with these off days lately for the Mets, there's just not a need for him, or not a spot anyway for Christian Scott at the big league level.
If you've held on this long, I think it's worth finding out what happens early July.
Okay, yeah. I think too. Yeah, if you're pot committed, kind of.
Right. If you got two off days this week, you probably have a heavy schedule coming up. So I would wait to see what happens. And I'd also follow what Scott does on the farm this week. See where they line him up, see where they go.
Well, as I mentioned at the very top of the show, Garrett Cole is back. Only 4 innings, but looked good from what I saw. And even after that relatively short rehab assignment, I think 3 starts, he was pretty much on his game. So even though he only went 4, and maybe they don't turn him loose fully quite yet at the Mets at Toronto, I'm going to go 5 on Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Yes. Why not? It's Garrett Cole. Yes. I'm going to go 5.
Yeah. Out of respect, I'll go 5. So that's 3 straight 5s on the list here.
Here we go.
Freddie Peralta, Joe Ryan, Garrett Cole. Luis Medina is not going to be a 5.
We're going to break that streak.
At the Angels, at Arizona, any reason to consider him in the league as a late or like a very low priority?
Clay, I got to tell you, I made the funky cold Medina joke to our friend Eric Halterman on there.
He didn't get it?
Right over his head.
Oh, man.
Right. I was so sad. Eric, my friend, Eric.
See, I feel like he's not that much younger than me.
No. I don't know. All right.
Must be the generational gap.
And I'm like twice his age, and I still it made me sad. All right. Sorry, Eric. You still do a great job. No. I mean, Medina has flashed, but I don't know. On the road, home, you could talk me into 1. On the road, I'm going 0.
Same, but we might be back to these 5s here. Well, at least one of these 2 will get a 5. I think I'm going to give both 5 for Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez. Yeah.
Yep.
At Detroit versus Miami. Yeah.
Yep.
Aaron Nola. Yeah, Ranger Suarez. With Imanaga struggling lately, Ranger Suarez may be the front runner for the Cy Young right now. Bailey Falter for Pittsburgh. At Cincinnati, then at Atlanta. Some tough venues. He's pitched okay, but
he's benefiting from the no walks, fly ball era.
Yeah.
But I can't use that argument at Cincinnati and at Atlanta.
No.
I can't.
I'm going to go 0. Yeah.
I mean, if different matchups, I'd be using that narrative, but not with these.
I'm with you on a 0 on Bailey Falter, even with how well he's pitched. And Matt Waldron, man, he's pitched like a Cy Young contender over the last couple months. Has a 3.46 ERA overall and a losing record, which, on the surface may not look great, but again, the trends with the knuckleballer are really impressive. And not just the knuckleball, as you've pointed out. That is the key with him. He gets a lot of the publicity for the knuckleball, but that's not all he brings to the table. Matt Waldron versus Washington at Boston. I'm not going to go 5, but I think I'm going to go 4.
I am as well. Why not?
The Boston start scares me a little bit, though.
Yeah.
But they're kind of, patchwork right now with a lot of injuries. And then Bryan Woo, who Eddie in chat says sell now. It has kind of been frustrating. I mean, the production on the field has been lights out, but it's kind of, skipped start here, pushed back, an abbreviated outing, comes back, pitches a gem, then another abbreviated outing. So a lot of stops and starts for Bryan Woo. Some people saying sell him now, at least on paper, at Tampa Bay versus Minnesota, I think is a 4, but he comes with that caveat that if he has trouble getting loose between innings or something comes up, it could be right out of the game.
In leagues that we play in, to be quite honest, people are aware of this. You're not going to get much for Bryan Woo. But other places may look at the previous starts and just want to trade for those numbers. I'm with you. It's kind of weird. Just the nature of the injuries, the nature of the reports, a little bit ominous. So he's pitching, he's scheduled. I'm going to judge the fact that he's scheduled. We're not talking about what we think he'll do in September, at least at this point. So I'm going to go 4 as well. I don't remember what you said. You're going to go 4.
Yeah, you look at the numbers and you think, yeah, he's been a godsend for fantasy managers, but it's kind of been frustrating at the same time. Like it's, a good outing, but he's pulled, doesn't get a win. Then you have him in your lineup, but he doesn't start. It's kind of been more frustrating than you'd think looking at the numbers. We have Blake Snell in for Monday for San Francisco. He is scheduled. He was scheduled to throw a sim game, so we don't get pitch counts or anything from that, but that could be enough for him to bypass a rehab assignment and return. So tentatively, Blake Snell would be versus Chicago versus the Dodgers. This is a guy who won the Cy Young last year, but with the way he's pitched,
he was given the Cy Young last year. I don't know that he won it. Mm-hmm. Get over it, Zola. It's over.
No, I'm over it. But at the same time, that wasn't his first. He's won it in both leagues. So I mean, he just hasn't been anywhere near his typical levels of performance this year versus the Dodgers. Man,
I'm going to go 2, and it's not because of this. Zola doesn't like Snell. I don't know. The number of innings and facing the Dodgers, I think he could be limited, and he's already wild enough. These could be 3-inning stints for him.
Yeah, I was tempted to go a little higher, but I mean, everything's so much up in the air. I mean, who knows if he even returns then? Yeah. If he, if he fares reasonably well, we just don't know. So, and then Spencer Howard, he may work behind an opener and just, with the way he's got a whip over 1.8, so that's going to be a 0 for me.
It is as well. San Francisco was good with the primary opener thing, but this year not as much. So I'm going to go 0.
Couple veteran arms here: Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson versus Atlanta versus Cincinnati. So they're both at home. Lynn just, I don't know why I talked myself into going down this path again this year, but I do have him on a league or two. Probably going to go 1 just because, he can have an occasional good outing, but just a lot of downside too with starting Lance.
Yeah, no, I like him a little more because of in Gibson too, because of the fly ball nature, Busch Stadium, knocking fly balls down. But it's still Lance Lynn. Atlanta, Cincinnati. They're neither are cruising, but they're both dangerous, I think. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think I'm going to go 1 on them both, and it just feels kind of weird.
I'm going to go 2 on Gibson, but a 1 on Lynn, just because, Lynn's the downside, just too significant. So not going to play with fire there. Taj Bradley's looked good at times and kind of looked like a young arm at others. He is only 23 years old. A couple quality starts in a row. Did have that 4-homer outing over just 3 1/3 on June 1st, but I think you can forgive a guy who's missed time with injury and kind of just still getting his feet wet. versus Seattle versus Washington. I think I'm going to go 3, but I could see a case for 4.
I'm at 4.49.
Wow.
I was actually thinking 5, but I
Wow.
talked myself down from the 5. I think I'm more about I can see him pitching to that level, but if we're grading, let's be a fair grader and give him a 4.
Well, I could see the case. I mean, well, I could see the case for 4. I'm a little surprised you go 5, but with these matchups,
Well, it was more about I think he's going to get there.
Yeah.
I think we're Tanner Houck this time last year, maybe, where I think next year we're going to be talking about Bradley taking the step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. This may be that kind of growth year where it's kind of under the hood, and maybe next year is the year where you really skyrocket.
The home matchups. You got to love Seattle. Washington doesn't strike out a ton, but they don't strike fear. Hey,
No.
you keep you keep Jesse Winker in the yard, and you're okay. Who would have thought we'd say that, right? I think he was 8th last night.
And keep him off the base path.
Yeah, exactly. Jesse Winker. C.J. Abrams is the guy there. Yeah. Did you see the story with Abrams? He's got the cyst.
Yeah, I did see that.
Non-cancerous that might not, thankfully for that, but it still could be painful and it may go away by itself. And they got the Rock. Not that I know we're talking next week, but Washington's got Colorado. You don't want that weird. What am I going to do with Abrams for the NFBC with 3 Colorado games on the ledger?
True. Now we're on to our final 3 teams here. In Texas with John Gray, he was crushed. 9 runs on 11 hits. I saw afterwards that he said he thought he was tipping his pitches. So
no, that's not what it is. I had him in DFS that night.
Yeah, that's what it was. You'd like to chalk it up as just a bad outing, and he was tipping pitches, but it still counts on his stat line. Still an outing you got to factor into the equation. At Milwaukee, at Baltimore.
I think he's
expecting
4,
better things.
He's a 4 pitcher, but these matchups bring him to a 2 for me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna go 3, but yeah. Okay, I'll go 3, but I got you down as a 2.
I can see where you're probably closer to being right, but yeah, this was frustrating because I was all over Kyle Schwarber for this. I think it was Monday night, and he hit 2 homers, and then Gray just took it away from me.
Yeah, well, Chris Bassett, Kevin Gausman, 2 guys that I have in the stake league, and I've been waiting on them. And just when I think they're kind of back into form, they kind of take a step back. So, things have been going okay for Bassett. Gausman's still chipping away at that ERA for the most part. At Boston versus New York, though, they got the interdivision tough 2-step here on the East Coast. So at Boston versus New York, I think I'm going to go 4 on Gausman, but Bassett's a little trickier. I'm going to go 4 Gausman, Bassett 3.
I agree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wish I could go higher. It feels like they should be, but I don't know.
Yeah, Gausman, I wonder, he had his run. I wonder if we are actually seeing a bit of a decline and not just a bad year. I'm not going to be nearly as high on Gausman. All right, neither is anybody. Will I still be a little higher on him than everybody else? Maybe, but it will be as my second pitcher, not my first.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it looks like no 2-start pitchers for Washington because it looks like they're going 6-man right now, aren't they?
Don't they have Gray coming back?
Yeah, they got Josiah Gray coming back. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the list this week. Let's recap our 2-star pitcher grades for next week, the week of June 24th, 2024. Brandon Pfaadt, I say 2, Todd 3. Spencer Schwellenbach 3. Ronaldo Lopez 4. Cade Povich 2. Tanner Houck 5. Brian Bayo 3. Justin Steele 4. Nick Lodolo 5. Hunter Greene 4. Tanner Bybee, I say 3. Todd 4. Logan Allen 2. Garrett Crochet 5. Chris Flexen 1. Tariq Skubal 5. Casey Mize 1. Cole Reagan's 5. Seth Lugo 4. Griffin Canning 2. Tyler Anderson, 3. James Paxton, 3. Bobby Miller, 3. Roddery Munoz, 0. Freddy Peralta, 5. Joe Ryan, 5. Garrett Cole, 5. Luis Medina ends the streak at 0. Then Aaron Nola, 5. Ranger Suarez, 5. Bailey Falter, 0. Matt Waldron, 4. Bryan Woo, 4. Blake Snell, 2. Spencer Howard, 0. Lance Lynn, 1. Kyle Gibson, I say 2. Todd, 1. Taj Bradley, I say 3. Todd, 4. John Gray, I say 3. Todd, 2. Kevin Gausman, 4. Chris Bassett, 3. Seems like overall a pretty good week for two-star pitching coming up. So you should have plenty of options to consider to maximize your starts this week.
Yeah, I didn't count the number of games, but it did seem like we have more game. It's been winding 192, 93. I bet we're up to 94 or 5 this week. So, yeah, no, be good. The weather may be warming up. The runs may be starting to score. I did the math through the 17th. It was still down. I'm going to do it again after the weekend. It's been a hot weekend. We'll see if that mattered.
Yeah, and even though the grimace streak ended, congrats to all the Mets fans listening who, the Mets have clawed back into that playoff race, the wild card mix. So a lot of teams kind of, hanging around 500 that, a lot of parity. It seems like a lot of potential options there who could make a run. So at least, if your team's in it and it has a shot, that's a good feeling. And I'm glad Mets fans at least, have that now.
Yeah,
instead of it being a completely lost year.
No, absolutely. And they'll have a couple of guys coming back. The Mets will. I mean, Senga keeps getting pushed off. I think we're after the All-Star break at this point. But I expect Edwin Diaz to be a top 5 closer the rest of the way. No, you're right. There's some stuff to look forward to in Queens.
JD getting hot and Lindor leading off, and it just seems like they finally maybe are hitting their stride and still not out of it. So maybe they're not going to be sellers after all. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Anything else you want to mention?
I think we pretty much covered it all. We talked a little bit in the opening about, based on the Rick Wood, just taking a step back, smell the roses, et cetera, et cetera. I think we all need to do that. And if you're on the East Coast and everywhere else it's sweltering, hydrate. Got my Brita.
Yeah, hydrate and try to stay cool, man. It's
got my Brita.
It's not too hot here in Madison yet, but I hear things on the East Coast are just brutal. So yeah, try to stay cool and hydrated. Want to thank our sponsors, DraftKings Pick 6. Use promo code RWPicks for $50 in Pick 6 credits with a $5 deposit. Thank you to everybody who came to hang out in the chat and chimed in. We appreciate your interaction and you coming to hang out with us on a Friday. So we'll talk again next Friday. Hope you'll be with us on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast brought to you by DraftKings Pick 6.